out to the show and fall out your door. We got that info for you. Touchdown on that plane and buy anything. More than just a podcast for you.
Last question, I like to be practical. So, what are some specific steps that high school students and high school parents listening um, to this broadcast can take to get noticed by college coaches in the current COVID world?
It's a good question.
So, okay, I'm a little bit different in this. Me being a development guy, humbly, I mean, me being a person of development per se. Now, yes, I do know all of this stuff has come about recruiting and things. Why has it come about? Because so many coaches started calling me about people who I worked with. It just was like, you need to get this on paper. So boom, recruiting service was started or whatnot. And plus my wife made me, because she's like, if you're going to be on the phone all day, you better set this up as a business. I mean, so it is what it is. But what a high school student can do is I can give you the points about, market to this. And first of all, you got to have the grades and everything like that. But take a step back and take a deep breath and be realistic. And remember, I'm a basketball guy. I'm a development guy. I did not play basketball. You didn't know this, but I did not play basketball until I was 16. And so I turned myself into a Division I athlete. Then in college, I only averaged 2 points. And I didn't have a great college career, but I still had my avenues and knew what to work on to where I was a 10-year professional, longer than some people were playing. So here's my blueprint for those who it's not mapped out for. When you look at your game and your child as a product for a minute, what one thing does your child do that will save somebody's job? So when you ask what could they do, I could sit here and tell you all of this pipeline of stuff. Hey, you got to get you a recruiting website. You got to get you a profile on this site. No, not yet. What does your child do that can pay somebody's mortgage? And what that means is, are they the best? And you got to get specific. You can't say, well, he averages 20 points. What kind of points? How is he getting those points? Is he shooting off threes? Is he doing stuff that does not translate, where somebody watches, they're like, he can't come here and do that. He's just doing that because he's playing against somebody. You have to make your child into, and people hate narrowing their child down. People pull their kids off of teams because, the coach wouldn't let them play point guard, or this or that. You got to find a skill or an asset on the court that you do that when somebody watches you, and it might not be for everybody, but whoever needs that will call you. And now you're in the door over all those other competition you have. It can be shooter, it can be defense, and again, not, my baby be playing defense. Not that defense. No. Tangible. I one time a year, I only ran up against such and such across town, who's going to school. Well, I held him to 12 points. And here specifically was me doing this against him that kept him from scoring. It can't just be, my baby playing defense. No. Like, we need specific measurables that if I need blank, and like I said, it's not for everybody. Like, the schools you work might not need that, but there's going to be some school that even when they call a buddy 20 miles away and they say, man, you know what, I need a shooter next year. Somebody mentions your name. You were such that they mentioned your name. That's what I think you got to do, or else you don't have a shot. And I'm talking about an average player, or else you don't have a shot right now. I hate to sound so negative, but you don't really have a shot against these college kids or high-level kids. You just don't have a shot. So you need to niche down your game. And people hate niching down their game because they want to do everything. Because, you know, you need to get with you a good trainer, not a trainer who gonna have cones all over the floor and have you playing like you Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, because that's not you. You need to really take a self-assessment of your game and
I
do
think that is a good point.
one thing so great that
Yeah.
when a college needs it, they call you. That's all
Yeah.
you can control. That's it.
Yeah.
Start
That's-
there.
You know what?
Then we can talk about the
will,
profiles.
I will second that and say that, you know, we're all unique in our own way. You know, we all came out in a certain way. And yes, we all have the skills. Like, we're all parents, right? But everybody parents differently. So when you're on that court and there's 6 men, 4 men, 3 men, whatever, how many people you were playing with, whether you know them from previous game or whatever, what makes that everyone there say, oh my God, yeah, I can see that in you. Okay, great. Be consistent, right? I always say, like I was talking about the underrated aspect of it. You know, if you say in this particular tournament, my position is going to be defense, then you focus on that. You're not focusing on defense, stealing the ball and scoring. You're focused on making sure that the person that has the ball does not score, does not pass, get turnovers. You understand on it. So work on your craft, especially during these times. There's YouTube is one of the greatest, you know, educator out there. Watch videos on certain things that focus just on defense. Watch videos or specific players, whether it be in NBA or in Europe or wherever, that focuses on the things that you want to craft on, and rewatch it. And then go out and do it. Like, be consistent, because that's what will make you different come out when, like, this year is all a given. It's going to start over when we get into 2022 or the end of 2021. It's everybody for themselves. No one, everybody's already written off 2020. So I'm not looking at what you did in 2019. I'm not looking at what you did in 2018. It's a reference for it. But what have you done during this time for me to say, okay, you know what? This is where your craft is. This is where you're good at. It is what I'm going to be able to make my decision with you and your parents to see that we can take the next step forward, especially when it comes to somebody reaching out to you and your child. The first thing I see, some profile, I'm a point guard, I'm a shooting guard. Don't give yourself those specific titles yet. Work on it, right? Like, craft it, understand it, right? I always tell it to my boys. I'm like, some of these players coming into the big league, you know, didn't even start off in that position that they're doing.
Mhm.
A lot of them, seeing how the coaches and their teams are, work towards with them to get to certain positions, because they were probably crafted in the early stage. Because I'm 5'6", I'm going to be a point guard automatically. No, look at Muggsy Bogues. I'm sorry. Like, there's different opportunities out there. So I second what you're saying about making sure that, especially in high school, your goal is not to be the only number one, because you're number one in high school doesn't mean you're going to be number one in college or university. Nobody knows you when you get to that level. Everybody's coming from all different places. So yes, you can have your name on the school wall, and that's great accolades, and that's fine. But to get to the next level, make sure that the skills you learn through high school carry you on towards the next level. You're consistent in who you are. You're consistent in understanding the craft of the game, the craft of the sports, and what role you play in that you are good at. So if somebody comes in and say, be a center, I've never really played center. Well, what do you mean? Center is part of being basketball. Do you understand how that works? What role you play in? So for high school students, definitely focus on understanding the methods of the game and where you stand and what it could take you to the next level. Breathe.
No, no, I'm just I got 2 sentences. I know you heard me typing, like, oh, let me type this because this right here is brilliant. Donovan, you want to close us out? Thoughts?
Yeah. Network as much as possible. Whether it be through a coach or somebody else that has connections to do it. Like I said, my process was that a coach reached out, then a coach reached out to another coach, and the coach reached out to another coach and said, hey, I got a guy. So networking would be my biggest thing. Find somebody that can help get you your name in those college coaches' mouth, or send yourself emails. I know it's not the best way, but it is an opportunity in a way for you to get into the college coach's face with your highlights or whatever you do send. But I would say just network as much as possible.
And Go ahead, Gifty. Were you going to say something?
No, I'll say that's a pretty good point too. And I think right now everybody's so comfortable hiding behind their phones and screens that we often get a little shy, like we're quick to do autocorrect too. So if the contact you're doing has a phone number, call, leave a voice message, let them hear you. Let them know that you are an actual person. Send in, message, following up on my email, per my email from last week, this date and time, just wondered if you have access and you've been able to look at it. I can create, set up a Zoom meeting to talk in person with my mom and my dad if you're interested, like anything, just to be persistent. But it's always on the professional level and the communication. I always talk about communication. Always communicate. There's no need to hide it because anything you say will come back if you're not true to who you are. So be attentive to what you're saying and be mindful of what you say. Because if you tell me that you say you can do this and I go back through my email trail, I'm going to expect you to do that when we meet in person. So be open, authentic, and communicate. And it starts from grade 7 and onward. So if we keep telling them by the time you're in high school and now you're thinking about what high school to go to or what college to go to, if you've been consistent in your communication, I think that will be very, very helpful. And that works with both athletes and the parents. So if you both of them are working together, that communication will fall through when you're being looked at from different coaches and different recruiters across the country or across both across North America, let's just say. So yeah, communicate and don't be shy to put yourself out there.
That's really good. That's really
Yeah.
good. So I'm going to wrap us up. But as I wrap us up, parents, what one thing does your child do that will save somebody's job?
Like that.
It's
What
reality.
does your child do that can pay somebody's mortgage? That, those two questions, I felt like I'm gonna get biblical for a minute, but when they asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment, and Jesus is like, look, God, look, like, hello, like, because this translate to take to every single sport professionally, as well as at the high school level, as well as at the collegiate level. What one thing does your child do that will save somebody's job? What one thing does your child do that can pay somebody's mortgage?
Call it the barter system.
That's brilliant. And I'm going to end with that. I'm going to say thank you so much to our panelists for being on the show today. I always learn something. I have learned a ton. We will see you guys next week on the 10-4 YouTube show. We're going to be talking softball and baseball recruiting. But thank you so much for tuning in with us. Like our show, subscribe, share it with your friends. Great conversation today. Learned a ton. Thank you for being with me.